Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Thursday, November 19th, 2020. The first item on the agenda is the call to order. So everybody, attention, we're going to begin the meeting. The second item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
And I have a second. Anybody have any objections, additions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Now Rusty, we're supposed to do, everything has to be a roll call vote
Okay, roll
while we're
call.
doing Zoom
Okay,
meetings.
thank you. Okay, all right.
And Deb's done a great job helping us with the roll calls on all these meetings.
All right, I'm going to
Thank
start
you.
with me, yes. Bob Mestely
Yes.
and Bill McKeever,
Yes.
Rick Sobo,
Yes.
Clarence Mills.
Yes.
We did it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes from May 28th, 2020. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as delivered to you? Anybody? If not, I will call for the motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes for Thursday, May 28th as presented.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, I start again. I'll go from the bottom. Clarence. All those in
Yes.
favor indicate by saying aye. Clarence, yes. Rick,
Yes, aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Rusty, aye. Then we have approved the minutes. All right, the next item on the agenda is public discussion of matters of which there is no public hearing scheduled. Is there anyone from the public who would like to say something this evening that does not address the item before us this evening?
Caller, press star 9 if you wish to speak. And the caller has raised their hand, so caller, I will ask you to press star 6 to unmute, and then you will state your name and your address for the record.
Hi, this is Michael Johnson. We're addressing the variance for Article 33.
All right, Mr. Johnson, let me stop you right there. We're going to come to that in a few minutes, and I'll be glad to call on you at that time.
I'm so sorry to jump the gun.
No, that's okay.
problem.
That's okay. All right. Is there anybody else with public discussion on anything that is not on the agenda this evening?
We have no other callers waiting.
No one else.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm going to move on to E, which is the update of activities in Commerce Township. And Rick, I'm going to start with you. And for the public, Rick is the representative from the Commerce Township Board of Trustees to the Zoning Board of Appeals. And he shares with us what's going on from the Township Board. And after Rick, we're going to have another update. Go ahead, Rick.
So we just had our swearing in tonight. We have a new supervisor, Larry Gray. This week, on Tuesday, we approved our 2021 budget, something that takes us a 3-month process to go through. Makes for a long meeting, the final night, but it's done. I'm not sure how else there's what else to talk about since we haven't been together in 6 months. There's not, other than the fact that someone keeps stealing our lights at the bridge.
And we have a drive-through window at the library.
We have a drive-through window. Yeah, you might want to check to see what's going to be open, what's not going to be open. Some new decisions will probably be made with the new supervisor for Monday within the Township Hall. So check, same thing with the library, Richardson Center, to see what's going to be open or not be open.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Bill McKeever is our representative from the Planning Commission to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Do you have something you'd like to update us on?
I've got a couple items from our October 5th meeting. We recommended approval of a conditional rezoning for a new retail lumberyard with outdoor storage located at 4158 Pioneer Drive.
Mhm.
We also recommended rezoning of a parcel of property, changing the zoning classification for the easterly portion of a split zone parcel of land from B1 local business to R1D, one family residential, located at 4435 South Commerce. And unfortunately, I was unable to attend our November meeting due to an unforeseen emergency. I would defer or to Mr. Campbell for an update on that meeting.
Sure, I can do that. So I'm going off the top of my head. There was another conditional rezoning at that meeting for the property on the east side of Martin Road that used to be the driving range, right across the street from Township Hall. And the Planning Commission recommended approval for a conditional rezoning so that Pulte Homes can build 103 attached townhomes. These would be owner-occupied townhomes. That conditional rezoning subsequently went to the Township Board just this week on Tuesday, and the Township Board approved that conditional rezoning. So the next step now for Pulte would come back to the Planning Commission with a fully developed site plan, and that site plan would be consistent with the terms of the conditional rezoning. The Planning Commission also saw a proposal to expand the Marathon Station at 519 West Commerce Road. So that's in the Commerce Village settlement area. They want to take their store that's about 1,000 square feet now and put an addition on the east side and on the south side to make it something closer to 3,000 square feet. The petitioner needed approval of two things. One, of a special land use, because a gas station is considered a special land use in that zoning district. So they needed special land use approval, and then they needed site plan approval. The Planning Commission granted both approvals, conditional on a number of things. So we're working with the petitioner to address all those conditions. The other one was Comcast has a facility on North Commerce Road across the street from the Methodist Church. Most people don't even know it's there. They want to put an addition onto the existing building on that facility, but because a public utility facility in a residential zoning district is a special land use, they also need a special land use approval along with site plan approval. They got the special land use approval, but the Planning Commission tabled any action on the site plan because they wanted Comcast to do some work on that building to make it a better looking building that would blend in better with the residential zoning district around it. Last but not least, the Planning Commission saw a concept plan for the old Sally's Bar. So that's on the southwest corner of Union Lake Road and Wise Road. The property owner is partnering with a restaurant operator to hopefully revitalize that building. They would use the existing building, but also put an addition on it along with a nice patio, and they'd bring that whole site back to life. And it was a really good looking proposal what they had. It was very cool how they kind of integrated the old barn building with some new architecture and some new features. And the Planning Commission was very excited to see it, and hopefully that's a plan that's going to come to fruition sometime in the near future. So that's what happened at the Planning Commission's meeting last week, Monday.
Thank you. Any other comments from anybody on public activity? If not, I'm going to close that portion and go to old business. Does anybody have any old business they'd like to bring up? Then I will move on to new business. Our new business.
Rusty, can I just say one thing?
Sure.
I think everyone's going to have to get, or maybe it's just, never mind. Forget it.
Okay. New business. The first item on the agenda this evening is PA 20-02. John Litzo of Commerce, Michigan, is requesting a variance from Article 33 of the Commerce Township zoning ordinance to exceed the maximum square footage allowed for a detached accessory structures to retain a shed that was constructed on the property located at 2441 Green Lawn, Sidwell number 17-12-228003. Mr. Litzo, I saw you. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to, are you going to make your own presentation this evening, or do you have somebody representing you?
No, I'm just me.
Okay, go right ahead, sir.
I don't even know how to start. I think everybody's got my letter that I wrote.
Yes, we all have it. And by the way, I want to share with the public that each one of us has physically been to the property to see what it is that you're asking for. So I want to get aware of that. Yes, we all have the paperwork.
The only thing I wasn't able to do was to show you some of the old Google Maps that shows that I had an original shed. Yeah, we've owned the property for 10 years. And there was been a shed in the same spot that there is now. And the only thing is I made it 24 square feet bigger. So, I mean, I don't know I don't want to read what everybody has already read. I just wanted to make a few points that there's a house across the street with a garage bigger than mine. It's a 2-story. He's actually directly across the street from me. And he has a shed that's bigger than the shed that I have replaced my old shed with. So I guess the problem that I did was I made the shed bigger. From what I could understand about the rules and regulations is that I had 30 days. The old shed was a metal shed and it'd been there for, I don't know, 15 years or whatnot. But I bought the property from my sister. And like I said, the shed has been there. It was actually a foot from the fence, which was not conforming for sure. But this whole thing started when I had some issues with a neighbor. But I built a new shed and I did move it. I was told I could build the shed. I didn't have a problem with it. I had a stop, a not approved sticker put on the shed, which I have in my hand. And I mean, I could video it.
Yeah, we see
But
it.
I was told I had to be 3 feet from the fence. And when I rebuilt it, I put it in the same spot. So I did move it 3 feet from the fence, and I thought that everything was fine. I wouldn't have built the whole thing as well as I built it. But when I was told to stop building it, I did. And then when I was allowed to finish building it, I kind of just put some T111 on it, put a roof on it to protect the stuff that's in it. And I finished it up. But I did move it 3 feet from the fence. And I was told that that was going to be fine. It was on pipes. I had to use a tractor to move it away from the fence. And I think there was a misunderstanding, but evidently it rolled back. The pitches kind of towards the fence. I guess it rolled back 6 inches. And the inspector was not happy that it was only, when he came out to measure, it was only 2'6" from the fence, excuse me. So right after that, I did move it back to 3 feet, which it is now. And after that, then I was told that now I have to tear it down because my garage was too big, but that wasn't how this whole thing started.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add before I open it up to the public?
No,
see-
I don't. I think everything that I have in what
Your
I
letter.
wrote
Okay,
is pretty much, I mean, there's, you know, it's an old neighborhood and Commerce Township is very old. I've lived here my entire life and there's many houses, even on the next block over that have 2 garages and a shed. I've taken pictures of these and I don't know if you guys even want to see them. I don't want to waste your
no,
time.
that's okay. No, it's all right. No, we're going to just deal with yours today, just with yours. All
Okay.
right, thank you very much. All right, the gentleman who is, Keith, who is handling this for us? It's time for,
Alex is our moderator, Chair Rossman. I know that building official Jay James looked like he was raising his hand. He needs to unmute himself, but I think he would like some input on the history that got us to this point.
I'd like to start with the public first. Would that be
Okay.
all right? I'm going to start with the public. And Mr. Johnson, can we start with you first?
So caller, *6, yep.
Yeah.
And the floor is yours.
Hello.
Hi.
This is Michael Johnson. I live at 8039 Barnesbury, and my partner and I moved in here in 2011, 9 years ago. And Mr. Litzow is correct. There is a metal shed there, and as all you have been out to the property, you've seen that that's been moved to the south side of the property line now, up closer to the house. We really have some strong feelings here because we have put as much money into this house as we paid for it. And we feel that Article 33 supports property values. Mr. Litzow rents out the house and doesn't live in the neighborhood at all. So I believe that Article 33 zoning ordinance is appropriate, and we do not are not in favor of the variance.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Johnson. I appreciate you coming on this evening. Is there anybody else from the public who would like to address this evening? Well, let me just read one more letter into the record, and then we're going to move on to Jay. This is from, give me a second here. This is from a Donald W. Monroe, M-U-N-R-O III, at 8024 Barnesbury, and he wrote, my property at 8024 Barnesbury backs up to Mr. Litzow's property. I wish to deny the request for the variance from Article 33. Mr. Litzau does not seem to respect the Commerce Township ordinances currently in place nor boundaries, period. In addition to exceeding the maximum square footage allowed for detached accessory structures, referring to the shed in question, he is currently encroaching on my property behind my garage by putting up scrap pieces of metal and wood. I believe this fencing, in quotes, is encroaching on my property. In closing, I would like my position of denial to be on record at the meeting on Thursday, November 19 at 7 p.m. Sincerely, Donald Monroe. All right, at this point, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting and open up to Jay James, who is a building official in Commerce.
That's perfect timing, Rusty. I just got out of the car.
I saw you were in the car.
So I heard the property owner's opinion. I will respectively disagree with the fact that there was miscommunication. So our office received a complaint that the property owner was building a shed right on the property line. I did go out and look at it. That was the red tag I left telling him to stop work because he had no permits. He came in to get a permit, and I was the one that helped him at the counter. And we discussed that he already had over 900 square feet of garage, and he would not be allowed another detached structure because that would exceed the ordinance. The property owner kind of told me he was redoing the floors in the garage and he needed somewhere to put the stuff temporarily so he could finish the garage floor. I remember my comment saying, you're going to stuff 900 square feet of garage into a 200 square foot shed. I said, but okay, I can understand. Maybe you're doing that. If that's the case, fine. I will let you have the shed for 6 months because I believe it was in the fall of last year. But I said, you cannot keep it where it's at. It's got to be moved 3 feet off the property line, which is where our ordinance would allow. And I said, as of within 6 months, I think it was April 1st or something, as of that date, that shed has to come down. I typed my comments in the computer. He could see them on the screen. We went over them, and that was the end of it. So 6 months later, he did not remove the shed. We sent him a letter. He did not remove the shed. We sent him a ticket. It's gone into the court system. And I believe his last issue at court was that they were allowing him to come seek a variance before the judge made a decision on the property. To me, everything was crystal clear, and that shed was not allowed to be there in the first place. I let him keep it for a while, but he knew it had to come down. We were all very clear on that. So that's our point of view on all of this.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Okay. All right, I'm going to turn now to the members of the board, and I'm going to start with Bill McKeever, please.
Did you close the public hearing?
Pardon?
Do we have, is this a public hearing?
Yes.
Or just,
No, it's time for the board members.
Public hearing was closed.
Russ, close the public hearing.
are there any other variances on this property?
Nothing.
Are you asking me?
Not to my knowledge.
Nothing's been applied for, Mr. McKeever. This is the sole variance that's being sought tonight.
But I mean, the existing garage seems to not have enough backyard setback. How is that possible?
The existing garage was built in 1992 based on building department records, and it is a existing legal non-conforming garage based on its size and potentially based on the, as you mentioned, the setbacks to the property lines. But we have to assume that it was compliant based on the standards of 1992, and it's allowed to continue to exist.
Okay, and then the original shed that's been moved to the south side of the property, right behind the house, that square footage of storage space or accessory structure isn't figured into this variance?
The second shed, I think, is news to all of us. The second shed is not the basis of this variance. The second shed would also be in excess of the allowable accessory structure square footage. So the second shed potentially is going to go through its own process.
Okay, I mean,
The second shed's coming down.
I
don't intend to keep that.
Okay, I'm going to ask Alex, would you please mute the applicant? Because I've closed the public portion. It's time just for the board members now.
Yeah, I don't, unfortunately, I don't see where this meets the criteria. I don't see where this piece of property, it suffers a hardship that requires to have an additional 200 feet of storage. Just because stuff doesn't necessarily mean that your property is creating a hardship. I think the amount of property or the amount of items that you are trying to store is a self-created issue.
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. The one thing I did not do at the beginning of the meeting was to read all of the requirements in order to receive a variance. And with everybody's permission, I'm going to do it now. In order to receive a dimensional variance approval, the applicant must satisfy all of the following: that you cannot use your property in the same manner that others in the zoning district can use their property. Two, the variance requested is the least variance that will put the applicant on an equal footing with others in the same zoning district. Three, the variance needed is because of some unique feature of the applicant's land that doesn't apply to other land in the zoning district. Four, the applicant is not created by the problem is not created by the applicant or their predecessors. Five, granting the variance will not cause significant adverse impacts. And six, the practical difficulty and hardship sought to be cured by the variance request is not just a minor inconvenience or a desire for higher financial return. So those are the 6 things that we have to look at. Okay, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Question. It was pointed out that Mr. Litzow rents this property.
Yes, that he is the owner. He's the owner and it is a rental. So he is not the occupant of the building.
Okay. And I'm not in favor of it. I don't feel it meets the criteria.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Bill. All right. I'm going to turn now to Bob Nistling.
Yep. I pretty much agree with Bill. I really don't see how the criteria of this property meets the criteria. I think there may even be other options for him to maybe put an attached shed, something to the property on there, but I don't see that it meets the criteria for a variance.
I'm not sure what you mean by attached shed. You mean attached it to the house?
Yeah, my neighbor actually has one. It's kind of neat.
Well, they'd have to check with Jay if that's allowed. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
That's all.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Rick, please.
So we may have to unmute, Alex may have to unmute him. What is in the back of the property? There's like a cement slab. And then what's happening with that cement slab? What's the plans for that?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
That's on the neighbor's property.
Okay. That is the neighbor's property. Okay. All right.
Yeah, he's rebuilding. We're all rebuilding. My plans were to tear down the house and I've got pictures of what I wanted to build. I don't know if you care about any of this. I don't know what you can see. I can't do this.
We're just dealing with this property to exactly what you're asking for tonight, not the future. We're just dealing with this.
Okay.
That's your neighbor's property. All right, back to Rick.
If it's not owned by you, why do you feel, where's the need for all this extra storage then?
What do you mean if what's not owned by me?
If you're not living there, I'm sorry, I know you want to, if you're not living in it.
Oh, no,
where's the need?
My buddy's living in the house right now. I'm still in the process. I stopped all my building projects when I got the zoning board. I've been working mostly on the garage. I got it all insulated and drywalled, and my plan was to epoxy the floors. And when I talked to Jay about putting the stuff, I needed to put out, the shed's full, the garage is full. My house burned down in Phoenix, and I brought everything back to Michigan, and I'm just in the process of trying to figure out what I got to get rid of and what I can keep. The garage was going to be my woodworking tools, and the only reason I want a shed is it's for my lawn equipment. I have a very long driveway. I have, my lawnmowers, my weed whackers, all my gas equipment, my snow plow, my snow blower, And that's what everybody has a shed for.
Okay.
So it's a practical hardship is what I'm seeking, because I can't put all that into the garage, even park a vehicle in there. I mean, everything is probably going to change in the next 2 years when I get the house done. But I mean, everybody in that whole area has multiple garages, multiple sheds. Even Mike Johnson that called in, he has a
All right, we're
two-car
going to
garage.
just stay with your property. We're just
And
going to
then
stay
right.
focused
We
on this.
Right, so we can't compare other properties.
No,
Just
we
because
cannot.
someone has something doesn't mean you're entitled to that. So we only have to stick to your
Okay.
property.
All right,
Okay.
Rick, is there anything else that you would
Well-
like to add, Rick? No, we're going back to Rick Sobel right now.
No, I think I'm good for now.
Okay, thank you. All right, Clarence Mills?
My concern is when I looked at Jay's timeline here, it's gone well over a year that he was put on notice when this shed was started, and he was advised that the shed would have to be removed, which to me gives ample time to figure out what you're going to do with the stuff. So I don't feel real favorable with granting any type of a variance for this shed.
Okay, thank you. All right, now it's my turn. Well, sir, I visited your property and I understand it's a rental, but it looks just awful in the backyard. The front doesn't look so great, but there is so much stuff all over. And I know it's a choice that you have and or your rentor, but you do have another option, which at this point you have not chosen to do. And that is to rent storage space. I do. I know a million people that rent storage space to put things in that they don't know what they want to do with, or their boats, or their this, or their that. And you have that option. It is not fair to all the Commerce Township residents who live around you to see all that stuff all over. It does not belong all over the place. You have the 900 plus square foot garage. And the fact that you've loaded it with things from your home in Phoenix is a personal choice, not a choice that everybody in the neighborhood made, that it's full, that everything goes all over the place. There's more than one shed there. There are two sheds. So the bottom line is that you are taking advantage of what is allowed in Commerce Township. Now, as a homeowner, you said you owned in Phoenix, that you own in Florida, you own in Commerce, perhaps you own other places. You know that communities have regulations, and you also know you don't always love all the regulations. But when you choose to live somewhere, you are in essence saying, or to own property, yes, I will follow the regulations. So for that reason and that reason alone, I am going to make the motion that we deny for the following reasons. And I'd like to make the motion. I'm going to make the motion to deny, based on the applicant's presentation and the comments I have heard. I do not believe that the applicant has met all of the criteria of section 4109 of the Township Zoning Ordinance, and therefore I move to deny the request for a variance from section Article 33 for the property at Sidwell number 1712-228-003 of the Township Ordinance because 1, this property can be used in the same manner as others in the zoning ordinance use their property without a proposed variance. 2, there is no unique feature of the applicant's land that does not apply to other land in the zoning district. 3, the problem is self-created by the applicant or his predecessors. And the next one, granting the variance will cause significant adverse impacts. And the practical difficulty and hardship being sought to be cured is merely an inconvenience, not a necessity. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion from the board members? Alex, you see anybody? Nope. Okay, then I'll call for the motion. All those in favor, be sure you indicate by saying aye.
That'd be a roll call vote.
Yes,
Roll call
Rusty, aye. Rick Sobel? To deny.
Rick's muted.
Aye.
Okay, Clarence,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Okay, then the motion has been denied, Mr. Litzow. And Jay will meet you at any time that you wish in the next week or so at the township, and make an appointment with him, and he will work with you on what needs to be done that you can comply. I strongly urge you, sir, to use storage facilities to put your things in so you can compact what you have. And the renter that you have, he can clean up too, because there's stuff all over the place. All right, then I'm going to move on from there. The next item on our agenda, gentlemen, is the proposed 2021 meeting schedule that you all received a copy in your packet. Are there any objections to any of the dates for any particular reason? Anybody?
All okay with me.
Okay, then I will make the motion that we approve the 2021 proposed meeting schedule as sent to us. I will do a roll call. Rusty, yes. Clarence?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Who did I forget? Clarence?
Yes.
Did I forget?
How about
anybody?
yourself?
Oh, I did me first. Yes. All right, that passed.
Did you need a second on that, Rusty?
Oh, yeah.
I'll second it.
I heard Bob second it.
Okay, you did hear it. Okay, everybody say yes.
The
All right.
order's not really important that we do it in.
Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is the election of officers. And what we have right now is Rusty is the chair and Clarence is the secretary. Any objections to continuing with that?
Bob has been the secretary.
Yeah.
Bob's the secretary? You're a retiree?
Clarence is vice chair.
Oh, Clarence is vice chair. I apologize. And then Bob is the secretary. Did anybody have any objections to continuing with that? All right, then.
Make a motion.
We need a mo.
Yeah. Bill, make a motion, please.
I make a motion to continue the officers as they are.
Okay, I need a second
Support. I'll second.
from Rick. All in favor? I'm going to start with you, Bill.
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Clarence,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Rusty, aye. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. All right, other matters to come before the board. Are there any? I miss you all. It's been forever since I've seen you in person. Do we have any correspondence?
Nothing other than the letter that we had pertaining to the petition that was on the agenda.
All right, now we need the planning director's report.
I don't have a formal report necessarily. It's been so long since we've all been together that I feel like if I tried to go through everything that's happened since the report that I gave in May, we'd be here a long time. So maybe the biggest item at the township right now is we have a new township supervisor who was sworn in this evening, Mr. Larry Gray, and he officially takes office tomorrow, although Township Hall is closed on Fridays. So for all intents and purposes, his first day is going to be on Monday. And so we're all looking forward to working with Larry. And at the same time, we all wanted to thank and appreciate the 4 years with Supervisor Scott, outgoing Supervisor Scott. We had a nice little get together for him last week. We had to keep it COVID compliant, so it was a low key affair, but we let Mr. Scott know how much we appreciated his work, and we look forward to working with Mr. Gray. There's a whole lot of projects in the pipeline and projects under construction. I don't know if anyone's got any specific questions for me about where things stand or where things are headed.
I got a couple questions.
Sure.
The first one, when we had the last meeting, there were a couple people that stepped down. I was wondering, did you find any replacements?
We've got 2 new faces on the planning commission. So the folks that stepped down were Tom Jones, who was on the planning commission for what, Paula, 22 years, something like that. And then Russ Shinzing stepped down just because his business, his real job was getting to the point where he just couldn't put the time into the planning commission that he knew it deserved. So we've replaced them with 2 planning commissioners that we're excited about. One is Chelsea Rebeck, who's an attorney, and she's been doing a great job so far. And the other is a good friend and colleague of Brian Winkler, whose name is Sam Karim. Sam is recently retired from the University of Michigan Health System. He was their their head architect or one of their head architects, helping them build all the different Michigan medical buildings that you see going up at their main campus in Ann Arbor, and then all the satellite buildings that you see going up around. So Sam brings a very strong background in planning and architecture, and then Chelsea brings a background in law. Chelsea is also, has young kids, so she kind of brings the family perspective to the Planning Commission, which is, I think, a good thing. So we're excited to have those two new members of our Planning Commission.
That's wonderful.
And I've got one more question. Issue on Crum Road, some kind of, what was that? Zenibia Center or something on Crum Road? What's the status of that?
So that's the Zanabia Center, and Crum Road is a road that was severed by M5. So there's kind of the west leg of Crum Road that comes off of Welch, and there's the east leg of Crum Road that comes off of Haggerty. So we're talking about the west leg of Crum Road. And on the south side of that is the Zanabia Center, which is a religious facility. Has been there for, I think, the 90s, since the 90s at least. And Paul is trying to chime in. Longer than that?
80s.
Oh, the 80s even. So they wanted to build a gymnasium, and because the property is zoned single family, and because they're a place of religious worship in a single family zoning district, they needed special land use approval in order to build their new gymnasium. They got that approval from the Planning Commission, and along with the site plan approval to go along with it. We haven't heard from their engineer lately. I assume they're still working on their design, construction, engineering plans to get those in front of our building department and in front of our township engineer to get approved. I would guess that their hope is to get those all approved through the winter so they can start construction in the spring.
Okay. One more quick item, and then I'll shut up. Loon Lake Road in Benstein. What are you building over there?
So I assume we're talking about the southwest corner?
Yes.
So that is a single family site condominium. I think the number is 23 single family homes. Windwheel Estates, they're calling that. The builder developer is Joe Schulist. Joe has done a few other projects in Commerce Township, and this is his latest one. There was a time where Joe thought he might flip that to another builder developer, but apparently he's gonna do it himself. So I know they've done some clearing over there, and I don't know if they've actually started on the road. The road is interesting because it's actually going to connect to the existing stub road in the neighborhood to the south, which is the Foxcroft neighborhood. So their road is currently stubs at their property line, but will now be extended and will kind of weave through this new neighborhood, Windwheel Estates, and empty out onto Loon Lake Road. So there's gonna be 23 new homes on that land.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
I have a question.
Sure.
Two. Zerbos is my first one, and could you update us on the Barrington?
Zerbos has been moving along slowly but surely for a long time, as long as I've worked for Commerce Township, which is coming up on 5 years.
Yeah.
They have told us that they hope to be open this holiday season. Now, I don't know if COVID puts a pause on that. No, COVID is going to put a pause on a lot of things. But at one time, their intent was to be open for the holidays. Keep in mind, Zerbos is going to be a health food store, spa, restaurant, kind of a whole healthy living thing. But I have not heard yet whether they still think they're going to be open in the next couple months or not. It looks complete from the outside, and what I'm told, I haven't been inside yet, but I'm told it looks beautiful on the inside.
Good. And Barrington?
Barrington is coming along. If you haven't had a chance to drive through there, it really is impressive what they've gotten done just over the last couple months. I mean, the landscaping's going in, the sod, the flag poles, the light posts. I mean, it's really starting to come together. They are going to have a soft opening in the next couple of weeks. They hope to have their first residents moving in before the end of the year. And they hope to have that project completely built out, I'm told, by this time next year. So by this time next year, they hope to have that place completely full. Just talking to the developer, I think they're really happy with the interest they're getting and the amount of folks who are, getting themselves on a waiting list so that they can be the first to move in. So I think they're really excited with how that project's going to turn out. It was a long time getting there. That was a challenging project. It's right next to a wetland. They had a heck of a time putting in the sewer and keeping the water out of the trench. But they're finally to the point where they're planting trees and flowers. So that's good.
That's wonderful. Anything new across the street?
So we're talking about the Aikens project. I've been in contact. I think it's no longer a secret that The residential partner that Mr. Akins wants to work with on that project is Mr. Galbraith and Mr. Shapiro, who are the same developers doing the Barrington project. So Mr. Akins' project is approved to have up to 300 residential units. And Mr. Akins is not a residential developer by trade, so it was always his intent to partner with a residential developer to handle the residential part. And it sounds like that residential partner is going to be Shapiro and Galbraith, which we feel good about just because they're a known entity. They've done several projects in Commerce Township. They've always been a good group to work with. So I'm glad to know that that's who Mr. Akins appears to be going with. And as far as where that project stands, what I'm being told is they want to get back in front of the Planning Commission and the Township Board in early 2021 with the hopes of finally breaking ground in, late spring, early summer of 2021.
I hope so too.
But that's another one where COVID kind of throws a monkey wrench into the whole thing. I mean, that was going to be a place with a bunch of restaurants and gathering spots and a movie theater, and all those things are kind of big question marks in the world that we live in.
Sure is. Okay, well, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? All right, if not, then I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. Our next meeting where we need to visit the bylaws is on Thursday, January 28th, 2021. And it has the potential of being a Zoom meeting. We'll stay tuned.
I think it's safe to say we'll be doing Zoom meetings for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
How about a vote? Start with you, sir, Bob.
Aye.
Okay, Clarence,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Rusty, aye. Okay, thank you, everybody.